Rick, do you think we're going to have to go as a nation? Is it your judgment that we're going to have to go over the cliff as part of the precursor to the great revival or the awakening that God wants to send?
Well, I do think so, but I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessary, but it looks like that's where we're headed. And I've been saying for a long time now that I felt we were headed for martial law, and that it could be a good thing, because, there's going to take somebody who really understands what is going on. I mean, well, it depends on who the marshal is. It's either going to be the worst form of tyranny, or it's going to take a real strong hand to get us turned back to the only foundations that can survive.
Martial law because of what, Rick? You think there's going to be chaos in the streets?
Yeah.
Because what? You think the economy's going to melt down?
I do. I do think that our dollar is in serious jeopardy. And I think that many of the conditions that were faced in our country in the 1930s the pressures are building again. There are a lot of things nobody is talking about, except for very few, that are some of the biggest crises of all that we're facing. And even in the Dust Bowl days, the Great Depression, most people still lived on farms and they could at least eat.
That's the conversation a lot of people are having around the country, those kinds of conversations.
Sort of behind closed doors around the dinner table.
What if?
Yes.
What if our economy completely collapses, God forbid, and we have to go back to an agrarian, communal type living? I mean, a lot of people laugh and scoff at that, but hey, we're not anything special. We can't continue to violate God's laws spiritually, economically, and expect to get away with it just because we're, quote, too big to fail. We're America. Rick, I think, we don't need to have that attitude. We need to have a humble attitude, and we need to be prepared as best we can for some tough times ahead. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I don't think we're headed for a complete meltdown. I think the value of the dollar could go to zero and our economy could still keep on clipping along. We've got to understand that the currency is not our true value. Our value is the industry, the initiative, the people. It's many things are the economy. The currency is just how you keep score. But I think we're going to go through a period where our dollar does go to zero, and there's going to be chaos for a period of time.
Well, the euro's already suffering. I don't know what standard will be used because the euro.
The euro won't make it either. It may go before the dollar.
The euro was sort of the darling of the international, community not too long ago, and now we see what's happening. And the Chinese are having real trouble. The Japanese. I don't know anywhere where do you go?
Right.
For good economic prosperity in the world today, it's hard to find. So, another thing, Rick, I wanted to point out that you were referencing the Dust Bowl. When was that in the 1800s?
No, the 1930s.
I'm sorry. I know I pride myself on American history, but I couldn't remember when that happened exactly. But during the Great Depression, and you can talk to people who lived through that era. You can talk to people who were children of that era in American history. We had great economic despair and trouble, and poverty was a lot of places. But on the practical level, people did live off the land a lot of times, so they could at least provide for themselves, or they trade with their neighbor. But here's the difference. Here's a big difference. Is the moral foundation of the country. People back then still subscribed to the Ten Commandments as a way of life, and the community basically judged each other on those. That was considered right.
Even
and
if
wrong.
they didn't live up to the standard,
Sure.
They recognized it.
I'm not saying they were perfect Christians by any means, or even if they were Christians at all, but they revered those things.
Right.
And the popular culture supported
Right.
that. So what I'm saying is here, if you had a chicken thief, that was shameful. You know what I'm saying? That was people didn't have a breakdown of the moral society, and you didn't have lawlessness like in a rampant way, because people governed themselves because they were God-fearing people. I'm getting to a point here. So you had that kept people from total disintegration, or rioting in the streets, or those kinds of things. If you had the same kind of thing happen that happened in the Great Depression, and it happened today with so many people that have rejected God's moral standards, they don't care about their behavior. You know what I'm saying? Who are you to judge me? That kind of attitude. And we see what's happening. You talk about craziness and rioting in the streets and danger. It would be terrible.
Rick, we're not that far from that, are we?
Well, yeah, I think as Margaret Thatcher said, the veneer of civilization is very thin. You know, lights go out in New York City, people became animals. You know, yeah, that's true. There's not much restraint now.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for putting in one word for me. I took two paragraphs to use the word restraint. That's what I mean. Moral restraint, self-restraint, which was present back in our country decades ago that isn't present today.
Well, we can't lose hope.
Nope.
Now, we also have, the first Philippians 1 where the Lord said, he who began a good work in you will complete it. One encouragement that I have in seeing the Lord's hand in beginning what happened here, I believe he's going to finish the job.
Hey, Rick, thanks so much. Sorry for interviewing myself instead of you this half hour.
Well,
I could have done
glad I could help.
I could have done a better job, my friend. But you got me on. I like your book, and it got me on the topic that I care deeply about. I See a New America by Rick Joyner, Joyner. Rick, thanks so much for being on our program, and we look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Okay, God bless you.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay.
All right, Trivia Friday on the way.